So in my last video, I tried to play Dead Island 2 New Game Plus below level 30, and it pretty much went as well as you expected it to, where I was getting one-shotted by Apex variants and two-shotted by runners, walkers, and shamblers at every corner. I actually made it to the Halprin Hotel, but the Caustic X little mission, or Caustic X pool mission, basically was my demise. But in this video, we've got a bit of a different style compared to the challenge video that I did last time. And this is a kind of review around the newest installment to the Dying Light series, Dying Light the Beast. Now, what I'm going to be doing is giving you some pros, cons, on the fence, and honourable mentions of my thoughts and hopefully unbiased opinion around what we've seen so far with the 30-minute gameplay trailer that was released a couple of weeks ago. Now, I'm not one of these special YouTubers, and I'm not big enough yet to be invited to these special events to play the game early. So I'm going to be solely going off what everyone else has seen and giving my thoughts compared to the Dying Light 1 and obviously Dying Light 2 games from the franchise. So I always like to get the cons out of the way first. And before I get into my cons, pros, and other things, these are my opinions. If you don't like them, I apologise. But if you don't like them, I'd like you to put it in the comment section below. We can talk about it below and also give your opinions on what you've seen so far. And obviously, I'll respond where I can to give my opinion on what your thoughts are. Because I want to discuss this, because I want to build a stronger community with all of you to get your thoughts and share my thoughts to just make the zombie space of games a better experience for everybody. And Techland probably won't watch this video, but if anyone does, then of course it's a bonus in my eyes. But yeah, do remember, these are my thoughts, so try and not get too hurt by them. Right, let's start with the cons. Now, this isn't, I wouldn't say this is a con, but this is something that I would have liked to see in the gameplay trailer. It was 30 minutes long. I'm sure they could have fit at least some sort of night chase in the game. So you obviously were at night in the gameplay trailer, crawling and creeping through, well, not crawling, but creeping, sneaking around some of the woodland area and the overgrown parts in tall grass and stuff like that to try and avoid the volatiles. But it would have been nice to see a chase by the volatiles. Now, maybe this mission obviously wasn't intending you to get in a chase, and because it would have probably stretched out the trailer more, the gameplay trailer more, but it would have been nice to see how different that is. But maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing for them to keep that hidden and for us to experience that for ourselves firsthand. But yeah, it's I would have liked to see it at least. Another one of my cons I thought about was, I don't know about you, but the base like zombie, so the base zombies, so like your biters and stuff like that, the enemy NPCs, so you had the people that work for the Baron, which is the new antagonist in the game, and then obviously the volatile AI when you were crawling around or sneaking around at night, didn't, to me, or when I say AI, I say mechanics and how they've been program designed, to me didn't really fill me with much excitement, because it seemed very vanilla. It didn't seem very different from what we'd seen in previous Dying Light games. Now, you could say that's a good thing because you're not straying too far away from what you know, but it would have been nice to see other improvements in that area. Now, maybe there might be a trailer that comes out to show that, and maybe I might be wrong, and I probably will be wrong when the game does come out, but it would have been nice to see a bit more of a differentiator, because when I saw like you fighting the enemy NPCs with the assault rifles or bow and arrow or whatever, it just seemed like they were very clunky. Now, maybe that was intentionally for the gameplay trailer, because obviously it's heavily scripted, but maybe that was kind of for that. But in some ways it didn't fill me much confidence of it just looked like the animations weren't smooth enough between them switching and trying to track where Kyle was. It just seemed very slow and a bit too easy for me. But like I said, it could have been intentional. A final con, because like I said, there's not many of these, to be brutally honest, and they're very much things that can be corrected before the game's release on the 22nd of August, and also probably have already been corrected, but just like I said, not shown in the gameplay trailer, is, apart from the new beast mode and some new variants that evidently will come out in this game, in the Dying Light franchise, is I think the gameplay features doesn't look that much different. And again, this falls back to the kind of how the enemies are programmed in the game. But I didn't feel like there was much differentiator between maybe parkour style things, or maybe how you interacted with the world and stuff like that. It just seemed very, very standard. But you could see that there were gelling elements from Dying Light 1 and Dying Light 2, which is, of course, a positive. But what I'm thinking is the new weaponry that have been announced, that will be in some of my pros very shortly, have some of the new weaponry and variants and maybe other things. Is that going to make up for me kind of looking at it going like, is this really that different from what we've seen in previous Dying Light games? So again, I could be proven wrong, but that was just my initial thought, and I didn't really get too excited around that aspect of the gameplay trailer. Now, I've got two on-the-fence ones, which is nor a pro nor a con, and they can be swung both ways. And one of my main things that I did notice in the game, of course, which was kind of obvious, is the beast mode. So the beast mode, it seems quite cool and interesting. But the basic attacks to me look very, very clunky. And what I mean by that is that Kyle Crane, when he's doing the base attack, is just punching. It's just swinging. Now, of course, the beast mode is meant to have this more powerful style attack behind them, or more force behind them. But compared to the Fury in Dead Island 2, which is the equal equivalent, that seemed more satisfying when you did basic attacks. And of course, you had skill cards to improve your Fury and etc. etc. But it would be nice to see it. I don't know. It's hard to explain why exactly. It just didn't suit it for me. It just seems very clunky, the basic attack. But what I will say, which is why this is on the fence, is that the animations of when you're grabbing a zombie and ripping them apart and grabbing heavy objects and using them like massive bits of concrete and rebar, smashing them down like some sort of crusher from Dead Island 2, and ripping them to bits, like, it looked so cool. And that did differentiate a lot for me from the Fury mode in Dead Island 2, which is a very good thing, is a very, very positive thing. But I'm a bit disappointed with the basic looking attack, because it just looks like you've run out of weapons and you're just punching for your life until you get one of these cool animations or heavy objects where you can deal even more damage to whatever you're fighting. And the final one about on the fence is driving really a new feature in the Dying Light franchise when it's in the following DLC? I think that was a bit of a stretch. I think we know the following DLC was a really, really good DLC, and to have that driving feature almost felt like a new game to a fashion. But to include it in Dying Light and go Dying Light the Beast and say it's a new feature in the game or a new mechanic is a bit of a stretch. But what I will say is why, again, this is very much on the fence, is with this new car driving mechanic, and we have things such as repairability, fuel and stuff like that, is that going to make it a bit more worthwhile and more engaging as a survival zombie game than just introducing driving, which we already know of from Dying Light the Following? So you can obviously have a thought around that. Now, let's move on to some of the pros to round up the video. So, of course, the main one, when you load up the gameplay trailer, the graphics are absolutely stunning, to say the least. There is no doubt that they've put some really good effort and time into designing the game to make it look beautiful. And that kind of goes in hand with that is the new location, that's Casterwoods. It's a good mix between city and woodland landscape with the post-apocalyptic world vibe of everything being overgrown. nature taking over. It's a very good mix, and having that graphics upgrade definitely makes it feel like a new game for me. So having that new world to explore, of course, as always, is always a fun thing to do, and having the better graphics is always nicer to just play the game more naturally. And another one which kind of goes in with the new world is the dynamic weather. So now this could be very, very interesting. Now, it's a nice touch to the world, but I also think when they said in the trailer, and you can watch it back, where they said it's not in Kyle's favour when it was raining. Now, because parkour is a big part of Dying Light, it would be very, very cool if this was part of the game. If it's not, it'd be kind of disappointing. I think it'd be a missed opportunity. But if Kyle was to do parkour and he was to make a risky jump where he could only grab onto it with his hands, and it was heavy raining, not light raining or whatever it is, I don't know how dynamic the weather gets in the game, but if it was heavy raining, or he was just about to step on a ledge or something, it would be so cool for them just to like slip off. His hand slips, it's wet, it's normal like that because you've got a disadvantage. You're fighting something, maybe you slip over accidentally when you're running because it's wet and it's muddy in the ground, or maybe you slow down in mud because, like I said, it's harder to trudge through. Those would be things that I would love to see, because it's an opportunity which adds that more survival realism to Dying Light and everything else with this new kind of woodland city overgrown post-apocalyptic map that we're experiencing for the first time. So that would be kind of cool to see, and hopefully they don't miss that opportunity. But if they do, they do, because it's still cool looking, but I feel like that would make it that bit different, and it would kind of cancel out some of the cons around the basic gameplay features that we originally know. It would kind of drown out, going like, well, they're not kind of new, but this makes up for it and kind of adds to the great experience that we know with Dying Light. Storyline, the Baron storyline around the new zombie variants, of course, is really cool. They're looking to maybe go down that route of using some of the Dying Light 2 kind of variants, as well as dip into the knowledge of the Dead Island 2 series of having like the Crushers or the Screamers. How different are they going to be compared to those type of zombies in those games? So it's going to be intriguing to see how many different ones we can get, apart from, of course, the known volatiles, Screamers, the odd spitter here and there, the bolters, virals, or whatever you call them. It's going to be intriguing to see how different those are, but it's going to keep me engaged, and I do like the stage for the storyline personally. Next, the slicing mechanics. I never thought slicing mechanics could get better, and Dead Island 2 is up there with some of the best slicing mechanics out of a lot of zombie games, but this looks like the detail, how the blade or an object or a weapon flies through, or even a shotgun shoots at a zombie, obliterating limbs and rib cages, and you, like I said, you slice at a head and you could see the effect instantly, or you could see the slash in the body more detailed, is something that I'm very excited about, and I'm hoping it looks as smooth and feels as smooth when we actually play the game for the first time, rather than this very scripted gameplay trailer. Another one is the flamethrower. Like I said, that is a brutal new weapon, and it had to have a mention in my pros, because it's not just about it being a flamethrower. It also, when you watched it in the gameplay trailer, or burning zombies in the gameplay trailer, you could hear the zombies still have a human element. You could hear them screaming, which is kind of sad, because it showed the realism of, like we saw at the start of the gameplay trailer, where obviously a viral got hit, and virals are kind of like, I think they're called virals, apologies if they're not called virals, but virals, when they get hit, they are, or the running zombies, they kind of go into a, oh no, please, 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 and then they turn back into their zombie self. So they're like a bit on the fence of being turned, but they are definitely turned, but they've still got human elements. And having that flamethrower clearly shows that flames, for a zombie that is, brings the human back out of them, which is kind of a sad end to their existence. Another one, gameplay mechanics. even though it's an old one and we know it's still in the games in Dying Light 1 and 2, the satisfying ragdoll physics is nice to see it's still there. And it's nice to see that they purposely showed that when you dropkick a zombie off a rooftop, they go flying and they explode when they hit something like a brick wall or a container or something. It is very, very nice to see that still in the game. And then finally, to wrap it up, it's nice to see Kyle Crane back. It's nice to have his story extended, to see exactly what happened to him, because it was a big speculation. Did he die? Did he become a volatile? What exactly happened to Kyle Crane? And now we know the Baron has been experimenting on him, and now Kyle Crane's trying to find those answers and see what's happening. And the honourable mention, to leave this with you all, is when at the end of the gameplay trailer, if you haven't watched it, recommend you do. When Kyle Crane defeated the Calmaris in his beast form, he then took a vial or 2 vials with this extraction gun, and decided to take whatever blood juice zombie thing from the zombie and inject it into himself. Now, that to me is going to be an interesting one in the storyline. Is it a kind of a replica of the inhibitors from Dying Light 2? Is it a way for Kyle Crane to try and stay alive from being infected? Do we know that? Because obviously I think in Dying Light 1, like I haven't played the campaign in a while, I think he was infected and he had to keep injecting himself. Is that just that aspect? Or is he injecting himself to get stronger like the inhibitors and improve his beast mode, similar to like having more upgradable abilities? So it looks like very much Techland are taking the stance of taking aspects of Dying Light 1 and Dying Light 2, and also some Dead Island 2 features in my eyes, as well as some of their own new weaponry and spins on new features like the dynamic weather. And if they implement some of the things like how the weather affects you when you're running around the map, to me this can be, apart from the cons I mentioned, one of the best zombie games I've played. Now, I hope it lives up to the hype. I'm not going to overhype it too much because, like I said, it comes out on August 22nd, but hopefully it lives up to it. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like I said, those are just my thoughts. Those are my pros, my cons, and my on-the-fence decisions and honourable mentions. Let me know your thoughts of your pros and cons in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to reply, and we'll just see how or what else comes out over the next few weeks / months before the game's released, because I'm sure there's going to be more details, more developer, designer interviews of different elements of the game, which is going to give us more reasons to, of course, get excited and get invested. But from what I've seen in the gameplay trailer, it's definitely something I'm very excited about. And eventually when it does come out, I will bring you content, I will bring you gameplay, I will bring you made up challenges by myself that I'll play on the channel for all of your faces. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I certainly have. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.